Hi, and welcome to Ask Wardee. I'm Wardee, a wife and mom of three, and the lead teacher and founder of TraditionalCookingSchool.com. I'm also the author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Fermenting Foods. Ask Wardee is the weekly show devoted to your niggling questions about traditional cooking. Maybe it's your sourdough starter, your sauerkraut, superfoods, broth, or anything else to do with traditional cooking. That's what we talk about. You can catch Ask Wardee live each Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, that's 1 p.m. Eastern, or through the podcast or video replays at askwardee.tv. And now let's get to today's show. Hey everyone, welcome to Ask Wardee episode 30. So happy you're here with me. We have a great question about yogurt cheese. Let me just first greet our live viewers on Periscope and Facebook Live. And those of you who are coming on later, listening to this through iTunes or through Ask Wardee TV, hello to you as well. If you're listening to this later, which is about within 24 hours of this being broadcast live, you'll find the complete show notes at tradcookschool.com/AW030 for Ask Wardee episode 30, AW030. And there you'll find a video replay, the audio podcast version, and the complete print notes and links of everything I'm going to be sharing with you today. So that's going to be a great resource for you because I'm going to be sharing a lot of uses for yogurt cheese. Don't feel like you have to write them all down. Just go to tradcookschool.com/AW030 to get them later. All right, so let's dive into the question. Starting with, first, let me show you a picture. I have several pictures to show you actually. So here is the first one. Being a little bit slow here. All right, so what is happening in this picture? It's my, it's kind of my rigged up way to drip yogurt cheese sometimes. So I've got a stick from our woods across a really big bowl, and I've got a bunch of fermented yogurt wrapped up in the cheesecloth, tied to the stick so it has some gravity happening so the whey will drip out. And it's just barely beginning, but if you can see there's some yellow liquid there beginning to pool. That's what happens. You're dripping out the whey to use it in fermenting or to make cheese. I mean, you do it for the, yes, it looks like draining cheese. You can do it for two purposes. Number one, if you're after the whey. Number two, if you're after the cheese from the fermented dairy. And let's see. Another picture. This is an oldie but a goodie. So there's a jar of finished whey. Okay, I'm holding it. So I've collected a lot of whey. And so Cecilia has a question about that because she is gathering whey to use in fermenting. In fermenting, when you're fermenting fruits or vegetables, you can use whey as a starter culture. Now, you don't have to. You can increase the salt. You can use other starter cultures. You don't have to use whey, but Cecilia is using whey. And she says, Dear Wardee, thank you for all your help with the fermenting life. I am just getting into it. But how can I use all this yogurt cheese after I've dripped the whey out of it? You can just hear the desperation or the like, what do I do with all this? Is it as healthy without the whey? Will it keep? Any ideas on how to use it up besides putting it on bread like cream cheese or making cheesecake? Great question, Cecilia. Well, you actually mentioned my top two favorite uses for yogurt cheese. Spread on toast like cream cheese and cheesecake. And you can do baked cheesecake or you can do raw cheesecakes. There's so many ways to use that up in desserts. But I have 9 more uses for you. So that's why I said at the beginning of this that we have 11 uses to talk of. Well, Cecilia just mentioned 2, on toast like cream cheese and in cheesecakes or cheesecake-like desserts. We'll have 9 more uses for you, okay? So we're going to get into it. But first I want to cover your preliminary questions. Number 1, you asked, is it as healthy? Is the yogurt cheese as healthy as the whey? Because the assumption here is you're gathering the whey because it's a healthy starter culture to use for your ferment. Well, is the yogurt cheese as healthy? Have you done anything to make it less healthy by taking the whey out of it? Well, I have a very simple answer for you. Yes, that yogurt cheese is healthy. By the way, Kefir cheese, or if you were to spontaneously clabber milk, you can make cheese out of it. So we're talking yogurt cheese, but this is interchangeable with kefir or clabber and whatnot. So I'm not really sure what else to say about the question, is it as healthy? Because here's the thing, you take that cultured dairy, you drip the whey out. The whey is acids and dissolved proteins and probiotics, but what you're leaving behind is all the milk, the the protein that is the cheese. You've also got probiotics. You've also got acids left behind in that cheese. So yeah, it's totally healthy and it's very delicious. The second question you asked was, will yogurt cheese keep? Yes, it will. And in fact, your yogurt cheese or your Kefir cheese or your Clabber cheese, because they have the protection of the beneficial acids that were produced through the cheese making or the culturing dairy, and because they have the protection of the probiotics, your homemade cultured dairy cheese is actually going to last longer than cream cheese you'd purchase from the store, because they don't have active cultures in them to preserve them. So a week or two, really. It could even last longer, but the thing is, it's in the fridge and it has live organisms, so it's continuing to get sour. Even though it's in the fridge, it's still doing that, even though more slowly than it would be if it was like left out at room temperature. So it is going to get more sour. So a week or two, and you might notice a big difference in the sour taste. And if you like it, that's great. If you don't, eat it sooner. The other thing that could happen is, even though you've dripped it through cheesecloth to get that whey out at the beginning, your actual cheese may still continue to release more whey. So you may have a liquid puddle of whey around it. And that's fine too. And that'll just pool around it in storage containers. So just want to make sure you're aware of that. And overall, in our family, after a week or two, it's too sour for us to enjoy. So we try to eat it sooner, or I freeze it if we aren't going to consume it sooner. All right, so those were the two preliminary questions. Is it as healthy? Is the yogurt cheese as healthy? And how long does it keep? Now let's talk about the uses. And I have some pictures for some of these. Now, you already suggested spread on toast and cheesecake, and those definitely top the list. Here are 9 more ideas for you, so you can use up your yogurt cheese / Kefir cheese / Clabber cheese, whatever cultured dairy cheese you make. Okay, so salad dressing. Why not take that yogurt cheese and you can make up a dressing? Like, you could whisk it together with milk or sour cream to get the consistency you like, and herb it up, salt, pepper, seasonings, whatever you want to add. Or if you're using a favorite recipe that calls for yogurt or calls for sour cream or calls for some kind of sour dairy, use your yogurt cheese instead. And then if it called for like yogurt and you're using yogurt cheese, just add make sure there's some liquid like lemon juice or water or raw milk to account for the yogurt cheese being more dry than the yogurt the recipe calls for. But just use up that yogurt cheese in salad dressings. You can use, and I have a picture for this one, you can use your yogurt cheese as a dip. We do this a lot. So you would, and this is very similar to the salad dressing, but your consistency might be different. So you're going to take your yogurt cheese and you're going to whisk it with liquid, which could be lemon juice, raw milk, raw apple cider vinegar, even water. But anyway, you're going to thin it to a consistency for dip. And dip for me is thicker than salad dressing, but they are used interchangeably. And then you're just going to herb it up. Salt, pepper, garlic, herbs, anything to make it taste good with that. The flavor of salt, pepper, garlic, herbs is just delicious. Okay, so that was number 2 of the additional 9 ways. Number 3 is smoothies. So we make smoothies with yogurt and kefir all the time. Well, why not use your yogurt cheese? Just again, it's drier. So you're going to need to have additional liquid in the smoothie for the consistency you want. Pretty straightforward. Another one, you can actually take your yogurt cheese and you could turn it into yogurt again. Now, I think this surprises people sometimes, and it's not quite exactly the same thing, but here's the thing. You have taken your yogurt or kefir or Clabber, you've dripped it through cheesecloth, so you've removed liquid. So how do you get it back? You add liquid. And the way I do it is I take my yogurt cheese or Kefir cheese or whatever, and I put it in a quart-sized jar or a mixing bowl or something, and I whisk while I'm adding back raw milk. Now, the end result is going to be sweeter because the yogurt is all sour. The sweet milk is sweet, so you're actually sweetening it up. But you whisk in as much raw milk as you need to get it back to a yogurt consistency. Now, it might not have that same setup and gel, but it is going to be like a yogurt. And here's a picture of it for you. So just whisk in your raw milk or other liquid back till you get a consistency that's like the yogurt that it was in the beginning. It's not going to set up the same, but you can use it like yogurt. You can top it on granola. You can have, a yogurt bowl with granola on top of it. You can use it in smoothies or whatnot. Now, if you happen to harvest your whey for fermenting, but you have too much whey, you can also take your yogurt cheese and take that excess whey and put them back together by whisking. See what I mean? Okay, so that was another use. All right, another use for your yogurt, excess yogurt cheese, hi Megan, who's just popping in here, is you can do what I said where you turn it into yogurt, again, by adding raw milk or liquid, but you're going to use it in soaked recipes that call for yogurt or kefir. Like there's a kefir pizza crust or a kefir soaked breads out there. You can Google these recipes, and we have some inside our traditional cooking school member recipes. So wherever it calls for yogurt or kefir for soaking, you use your yogurt cheese that you've whisked in additional liquid to make it that same consistency as yogurt. And here's the thing though, in some of those recipes, like maybe if you're using a recipe, well, in these recipes, you don't need to add additional acid because your yogurt cheese has the acid already. So if you're modifying a recipe that may call for soaking in water and lemon juice, you could actually take your yogurt cheese where you've thinned it back up to a good consistency, and you don't need to add additional lemon juice because the yogurt cheese already had that acid, if that makes sense. Okay, one of my favorite uses, and this is because I have a Middle Eastern background and grew up eating lots of Middle Eastern foods, is to take that yogurt cheese and drizzle it with olive oil and use it as a dip for bread. It is delicious. Add some salt too. Now, this is related, another use, but if you would salt it, drizzle olive oil, you can serve it as part of a Middle Eastern style feast. And I grew up eating these, especially when we got together with relatives or lazy weekend mornings, and breakfasts were just odds and ends of hummus, bread, yogurt cheese that was salted and drizzled with olive oil, pickled olives, other pickled foods. Did I say pocket bread? Did I say hard-boiled eggs? Tabbouleh? Anyway, it was just this Middle Eastern Mediterranean style feast of all these cold, pickled, different salty, sour dishes. And yogurt cheese was like the perfect part of that because it was salty and it was drizzled with olive oil. So make it a part of a Middle Eastern style feast. Two more ideas for you. Okay, I'm getting to the end here. Wait, which one was I going to say? All right, I got a picture for you. We make these a lot. Yogurt cheese balls. And they can be covered in a salt brine or submerged in olive oil to preserve them. The only thing is when you're making your yogurt cheese and dripping out that way, you want to make sure that it is very, very dry. So you drip it longer than you would for like a normal batch of whey because you want your cheese to be dry. So it will pack into balls and stay into balls when it's submerged below brine or olive oil. And these are absolutely fabulous. I will have a link for you at tradcookschool.com/AW030. When the notes for this are up, I'll have a link for you to a video that shows you how to do this and a recipe for it. And my final idea is, I love this one. This is something that's in our Cultured Dairy e-course or Cultured Dairy e-book. It's where you take that yogurt cheese and you can put it in a soft cheese mold. And you want to do it when it's a little bit on the wet side. So you put it in a soft cheese mold, but you layer it up with fresh herbs. And then you let the rest of the whey drip out. And then you tip it over, and here it is on a bed of lettuce. And you have these beautiful herbs peeking out of cheese. And it's just been soft molded. And this is great for parties or gatherings, or like I was talking about, those lazy breakfasts where you just spread out a whole bunch of pickled, soured, cold foods. So let me take a moment here to ask you guys who are listening, everyone who's here, do you have any other uses for yogurt cheese that you would add? And you can also visit tradcookschool.com/AW030 within 24 hours and add them to the notes. Then they'll be preserved for forever. Any other ideas? I exhausted myself thinking, trying to come up with all these. but there is no need for that yogurt cheese to go to waste. Now, if you still can't use it up, it's a great food. It's a great food for chickens too. So go for it. Oh, here's a good idea. My kids love it with honey and cinnamon on toast or pancakes. Excellent. Vicky is saying she loves the cheese balls in olive oil. Yay, I'm glad to hear that. Great. All right, well, let me wrap up here with a couple housekeeping notes. So I just want to again say thank you to everyone who's been with me live on Periscope and Facebook Live. You can feel free to share, even if it's a replay later, if you think that others would enjoy this brainstorming on other uses for yogurt cheese. If you're interested in more fermentation ideas, we use whey in fermenting, and as I said at the beginning, you can do lots of other things if you're dairy-free, for instance. But if you're interested in fermenting, please grab my Fermenting Formulas cheat sheet, where I give formulas for fermenting all kinds of foods, salsas and krauts, relishes, beverages, and you can get that at tradcookschool.com/fermentsheet, where ferment sheet is one word. And I think that's a wrap. So God bless you all, and I'll talk to you again in a week. Thanks so much for coming today. It's been fun. Here's what to do next. Ask Wardee wouldn't be possible without your questions, so please keep them coming. If you're on Twitter, you can tweet me. Use the handle @TradCookSchool with your question and include the hashtag AskWardee. Or you can email me, wardee@askwardee.tv. To get the show notes, links I mentioned, or even to catch up on past episodes, just go to askwardee.tv. To join the fun of the live video recording of Ask Wardee each week, be sure to follow me @TradCookSchool on the Periscope app, or go to periscope.tv/TradCookSchool. We're live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, that's 1 p.m. Eastern. And finally, you can subscribe to Ask Wardee as a podcast using iTunes, the podcast app, or Stitcher. If you're on a mobile device, just search for Ask Wardee right in the app. If you're on a desktop or laptop, just go to tradcookschool.com/awitunes for Ask Wardee iTunes. And while you're there, please leave a rating or review. I love to read your comments, and your feedback helps others who are interested in traditional cooking find my podcast too. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week.